We are here today in the Gazelle Valley Park. We will soon show you the site map and show you how where we're going to walk through our tour. But first, I want to introduce Ika Chitman. Ika.
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
So Ika is working with us almost 10 years, I think. Let's start our tour. So let's tell you about.
Let me just, Al, 1 second, if I could just interrupt. I also meant to introduce Alen Kassal, who's the director of the Jerusalem Bird Observatory. She's with us here behind the scenes online. She's going to be answering your questions on the chat here in Zoom. I don't know, maybe on Facebook as well. Lawrence Casimir is backing us all up, running the show from behind the scenes from his home in Modi'in. So take it away, Yael and Ika. Thank you so much. And thank you, Alen and Lawrence.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. So we're here in an urban nature site, and because it's a nature site, we have a little disclaimer, Ika.
So we, as I've seen in the course of the years here in this very unusual site, this place is very unusual in many ways, a combination of city and nature and community. And we do a lot of things very differently from how it's generally accepted and how it would be expected. We do the impossible very often. And what we're doing now is different from many other Zoom meetings that you may have seen over the last few weeks. Most Zoom meetings that I've seen, at least, with a fixed camera, very stable Wi-Fi. So we're working here from a cell phone. And we're out in nature, and nature, like in nature, has its own rules, can be very unpredictable. The last time we did this tour, we did it in Hebrew. We didn't see gazelles very close up for the
whole tour,
basically.
But the minute we finished the Zoom meeting, we saw 3 gazelles appearing in front of us. So I hope this time they'll come a little bit earlier and show their faces to all of you all around the world.
So here we are.
Here we are in front of the map of the Gazelle Valley. The Gazelle Valley is about 60 acres. And you can see it's divided to 2 main types of green. We call it the extensive green, which is the part in this side where we see also the water system and the gazelles. And this is the more intensive part, which it's our place, the people's place. As I'd say to all the tours that come here, here we are the guests, and we are inside the cage, while the gazelles can walk all around this whole area as they feel like whenever they want. But we're not allowed to cross this line. We're not allowed to enter the natural core, which belongs only to the gazelles. So here we are standing in the intensive place near the beautiful paddling pool. And if you can see, we can see the yellow rope, the famous yellow line, telling the people, please do not cross. And we see that 99% of the visitors in the Gazelle Valley accept this rule and don't pass the yellow line in order not to interrupt the gazelle natural life. A little bit about the history of this place. Okay, so let's go back to the Independence War of Israel. Jerusalem was isolated from the rest of the country, and it was very, very hard to bring food to Jerusalem. When the Independence War ended, the Israeli government tried to find places inside the city of Jerusalem in case there will be another war, detaching Jerusalem from the rest of the country, to grow agriculture inside the city. And this beautiful place that you see here was one of the widest valleys that were found inside Jerusalem. It was very, very good for agriculture because it had a stream, the Rakafot stream, going through this valley. It was very wide and not very steep, and it allowed the Ministry of Agriculture to decide that this should be one of the places that will have orchards inside of Jerusalem, and will have the fruit come directly to the Jerusalem market. So as you see here, these were part of the orchards that originally were here in the 60s. And during the years, we added some more new orchards in order to redevelop this concept. But after 20 years, when this place was an amazing garden with a lot of fruit, it became less and less economical,
Financially viable.
and financially viable to have orchards here in this area. I see 3 gazelles now, so we're gonna stop this for a minute, and we're gonna try and see the gazelles. Ika, can you try and show all our visitors the 3 gazelles? Maybe
We can hope that we will see them closer in a few
they
minutes.
just disappeared. Okay, we hope they'll decide to come and visit us here. So it became less and less economical to have the orchards here, and the 2 kibbutzim who bought this place to grow apples decided that they're gonna change what is happening here, and they wanted to develop a housing project, a very similar project to the one we see here, the Holy Land project. So this table that was planned here was supposed to have 1,300 housing units, and a very nice garden in the middle. Of course, not a natural garden, not a place like this, and probably it would have been a gated community that will not allow the other citizens of Jerusalem to enter this place. Now, this place, although it was orchards, the people of Jerusalem felt it were their place. This is the place they came to watch nature from very closely. There was a herd of 33 gazelles living here. People knew the gazelles, loved them, and came with their families to see them every day and on weekends. When they discovered Ika, I see you wanted to add something.
It's funny because almost every slightly older Jerusalemite that you will talk to, if they belong to this half of the city, they'll tell you how, yeah, they remember as kids, they used to sneak up into the orchards. They would see the gazelles, they would steal some fruit and run away. It's a very strong memory for many Jerusalem citizens.
Absolutely, and I keep hosting people that tell me the story of their childhood and how it's connected to this place, which was called Prihar. Prihar was the name of the company that packed the apples and brought them to the Jerusalem markets. So we're talking around the 80s. Jerusalem is developing. 2 things happen parallel in this time. One, the kibbutzim understand that all around the country, instead of orchards, instead of agriculture, they start growing housing units. And Jerusalem is developing, and they start to understand that they need more roads here in Jerusalem. So in the beginning of the 90s, the first thing that was built was this road that you can see. On the western side of the valley. It's a very big road connecting Jerusalem from north to south. This road, together with development that appeared in the southern part of the valley, blocked the ecological corridor that of the valley.
That enabled the gazelles to get from this area to the Jerusalem hills outside, which is basically a condition for the survival of a wild population.
Exactly. So imagine that there was an amazing natural area here, going down the stream of Rokafot, connecting to Rephaim stream, gazelles can move freely from one side to another, having a wonderful life, escaping their enemies, the jackals and dogs coming from the neighborhoods. But whenever they felt that there was trouble, they could just start running and crossing this area and going to another area of natural of nature. When this road was built, this connection actually stopped, and 33 gazelles were trapped inside the Gazelle Valley. And this is the beginning of the story of the Gazelle Valley. By that time, the residents all around us called this place the Gazelle Valley. This is the place that they knew that there was this herd of gazelles. They saw the newborns. They loved this place. And they came here every Shabbat, every afternoon, and loved this place because it was actually their backyard. It's neighborhoods, you can see, not very wealthy neighborhoods. They didn't have great gardens, great parks near their house, and this was their park. So when they understood that there was a housing project here, they decided they're gonna go and fight this planning project. Ika, do you want to add something?
The SPNI, this is the point at which the SPNI got involved and started to lead the whole struggle. And there's a lot of interesting things that happened if you're into Israeli culture and Israeli politics and history, and what kind of population would normally be seen in what kind of struggle. This basically changed with the SPNI's involvement in the Gazelle Valley.
Exactly.
So there's a totally new cultural, social thing happening here as well.
Exactly. It was, this fight gave a lot of strength and a lot of courage to people all around the country to understand that what they say and how they fight counts. And after 20 years of this battle on this Gazelle Valley, the planning, the plan that was planned here was demolished, taken out of the planning system, and instead the residents, together with the SPNI, decided that they are going to create their own plan. And their own plan, just let's walk a little bit to the map for a minute. And those basic things that they decided that they want to have in their plan is what we see in this park today. And what's amazing that it looks very much alike to the first drawing that was set on the paper of what the residents wanted. They identified the Rokafot stream. They decided that they want water. Jerusalem people live in the desert. They want water, water, and more water. So they created 4 small ponds in a big lake, taking the water through the stream, stopping it here in the Gazelle Valley. They wanted an area for the gazelles. So we have about 1/3 of the area just for the gazelles. And they wanted to have the orchards that they knew from when they were children.
Kind of a historical memory as well. It's not only about nature.
Right. So let's walk a little bit in the park and see what this park has to offer.
I will use this walking break in order to say there are lots of questions being asked. Some of them are like zoom into the map. On our website, you can find a good version of the map. You can find lots and lots of information online. What we're doing here is basically an overall look of the valley. Yeah.
Okay, so here we can see a little bit of historic pictures of the orchards that were here. And you can see that a lot of development that we see today wasn't here in the 60s when this began. This whole story of the valley began. So you see, we replanted a lot of the trees that were here. We see here apples, and we see peaches, and we see pomegranates, and the Israeli almonds. All of these were here from the 60s, and some are go even back before this became an agricultural area.
Like the old olive trees. Some people are asking, until we get to the olive tree, some people are asking, where is it in Jerusalem? So for those that know Jerusalem, we are next to the Givat, we are just below the houses of Givat Mordechai at this moment. Across the main road, you can kind of see through the trees, later you'll see it better, is Katamon and the Pat intersection, for those who know it, and the Holy Land neighborhood that Yael mentioned before, and Beit Vagan. For those that know Jerusalem less well, we'll basically say we're at the southwestern corner, not corner, we're kind of at the southwestern side of Jerusalem. Very, very accessible in terms of main roads, very close to two main roads, public transportation, private transportation, bicycles, you name it. It's very, very easy to get here.
Yes, it's very easy to get here, and because we grew from the neighborhoods, we grew from the public. This park is completely free of charge, so people can keep on coming here, seeing nature, enjoying the gazelles, enjoying this public space that they have created for themselves. And this is part of our concept. We're a natural park, but we're a community park. And these two things always work and go together. Just people that are from Israel, I don't know if we have it in other countries. This is Kli Lachoresh, amazing to eat, great in every salad, and beautiful.
Mm.
So here we're inside of one of the open classrooms. Now we're talking a lot about outdoor learning because of the corona. This is one of the spots that I just this morning talked to the Jerusalem municipality of creating an outdoor place to study when school begins again. But here I want to show you, we talked about Summit Pat, Pat Junction. And what is important to say that this is going to be the new line of the light rail. The green light rail is going across right here, and we're going to have two stops here for the Gazelle Valley, one in the entrance to the park and one very, very near, because it became such an important thing, part of the city and part of what the people in the city want to have.
What Jerusalem is all about. Jerusalem is all about all kinds of interesting connections when you think of it. So one of these interesting connections is also nature inside the city.
So if we, for a minute, stay silent, we'll hear the cars, we'll hear the frogs, we'll hear the birds, we'll hear the turtles even, but it's all together because this is what urban nature is all about. One of the things that it's very important for me to say that by the end of the battle to save the Gazelle Valley that came from the residents together with the SPNI, the Jerusalem municipality understood that this is what the people want, and they joined this amazing project, and they sponsored it for a very long time, and they developed this thing that we're standing inside. But of course, we had a lot of help from a lot of donors. The Australia, the JNF Australia, JNF United States, a lot of people, I hope that they're watching us. So a lot of things that are happening here are thanks to donors all around the world that helped us create this amazing place. We're looking at the southern meadow, which which takes what we have in the natural nature outside of Jerusalem and tries to create it here inside the city.
To recreate it, yeah.
To recreate it, yes.
Because you don't have such big spaces inside Jerusalem normally, inside
Right.
cities normally.
And we've created the best place for ecology to grow here, for the gazelles to grow here and to live here. Let's walk to the and look at the water system.
What?
And we're walking now in
Fruit garden.
a fruit garden,
A bustan.
the bustan.
Can't really be translated. Any translation I can think of to English is inaccurate. It's a word that comes from Arabic and describes a fruit garden.
Yeah, a
fruit
garden,
trees.
a traditional fruit garden. Maybe this is the right phrase. So we have here the olives, we have pomegranates, we have the tena, the figs.
Figs.
Very much connected to the Israeli history, biblical history, and this whole paving that we're walking through is accessible for handicapped, and this is part of the concept of this park. Is it should be open and accessible to all, no matter what religion you are, no matter if you have money or don't have money, no matter if you can walk or cannot walk. We want nature to be accessible to everyone, and this is part of the concept of this park. You're looking now at this shaded area.
We will look in
You're
a
still
second.
not looking at the shaded area.
I gotta say, speaking of accessibility, I think two of my favorite photos taken in this valley, and I've taken hundreds. Two of my favorite photos in this valley. One was taken right from where we're standing now in this direction, of a woman in her late 90s who came here with her grandchildren, some of whom were in their late 50s. She was in a wheelchair and they weren't very agile either. And another one was of a group of girls from an Arab school in East Jerusalem who met up with a group of from a Jewish school also in Jerusalem, taken right here, and they ended up doing stuff together, watching nature, learning names of stuff. Nature has become here a tool for much more than just nature preservation, because we mix it with the community very strongly.
Yes, exactly. A lot of people say that Gazelle Valley in Jerusalem, it's like the sea in Tel Aviv. If we had a sea in Tel Aviv, everything would be normal in Jerusalem, and we have our little sea of Jerusalem. It's the Gazelle Valley, because in nature, people can sit together and talk about what kind of bird they just saw and not talk about politics, leave religion, politics, everything outside, and here just be with nature. Part of the community is what we do with them and how they help us maintain this place. And we're looking at this windmill, which was made of one of our volunteers, elderly volunteer, that just builds these amazing moving sculptures and locates them all around the Gazelle Valley. Here we have another one. So this shaded area that we're walking towards is the packing house, the original packing house. You can see some historical pictures here. And it is really part of the history of Jerusalem, this place.
Okay. I'm not sure you can hear it on Zoom, but there are a few dozen bee eaters just flying over us, and they're probably looking for bees or for some insects to eat for supper before they go to sleep. They migrate over Jerusalem. Gone. We'll probably hear them later.
So let's go and talk about the water system in the Hide. And on the way, I'll talk a little bit about birding, because Israel is one of the best places in the world to see birds,
For bird watching.
for bird watching. And we have more than 250 species of birds here in the Gazelle Valley. And one of the best places to see it is in the high. Oh, look.
This is a male gazelle. You can tell by the horns.
Okay, so we're looking at Yossi right now. He's one of our male gazelles. Let's stay here and let him just do his thing. So what we see here is that when we respect nature, nature respects us back.
I don't think one can see much more than his horns at
Let's-
the
let's-
moment on the
let's
camera.
walk a little bit here and try not to interrupt him while he's eating the green grass. Maybe give me the camera. So you can see he's having a great evening.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to take over from Nietzsche.
He tried, but he didn't succeed for several times. I think he's given up.
Because he's kind of on the border of his territory.
Yes, he is. He's taking a risk here.
So a brief explanation of what we just
Okay.
discussed here.
So in the gazelles, we have
Someone just asked, the gazelle is named Yossi, yes. We have all kinds of stories behind the name. This is not the time and place to go into them.
okay. So the gazelles, the male gazelles they have territories, and actually there is only one gazelle in every female territory that is allowed to come near them and do what they do with them. So we have battles between males trying to become the
dominant male.
the dominant male of the territory, and we see it here.
Nietzsche was has been the dominant male of the group, the family that lives in this part of the valley. He's been the dominant male for what, 2-3 years now?
Yeah, something like that, maybe even 4.
Yeah, 4.
So let's go inside the hide, and maybe we can talk a little bit about the gazelles while we're walking. So now in the Gazelle Valley, we have about between 54 to 58 gazelles. We had a lot of pregnancies in this last spring, and we don't know who of them has already given birth to. We saw a few cubs, but we didn't see all of them, so we're not sure how much we have. We have a majority of females, which is the best thing that tells us that everything here is okay. We have about 2/3 of females and 1/3 of males, which is the right thing that should be in nature. This helps the herd.
Structure of the herd, basically,
Yeah.
gets kept that way.
Yes.
Someone asked how are the gazelles being managed, and that is a very big, very general question.
Right.
I think one can say briefly that there is a team member here who's responsible for basically nothing but following the gazelles. She knows them better than I know my children, and I've only got 4, not 54. That's her primary job, and we're hoping sooner or later to be able to release, right?
To release back to nature. You know, the gazelles are an endangered species in Israel. The Israeli gazelle, Israel is the only place that the Israeli gazelle still exists, and the numbers shrunk from 15,000 to 3,000, 4,000 in the last years. So because of development, because of blocking of ecological corridors like what happened in the Gazelle Valley, and we hope that soon we will be able to bring back gazelles to nature from the Gazelle Valley. But first, maybe I'll give 2 minutes about how the gazelles came here in the first place, because by the time we opened the Gazelle Valley, which it was in 2015, we had one gazelle left. Yes.
This explanation is going to answer the question about genetic, what's it called? Genetic
Background.
גיוון,
Um,
מגוון
Diversity.
biology diversity. Thank you. Genetic diversity. It's going to answer a lot of questions, but that mainly that one.
Okay, so I'll say that when we decided to open the Gazelle Valley as a park, the first thing we did is fence it. We have 2 kilometers of fence going all around the Gazelle Valley because of in order to prevent jackals from coming in and eating the gazelles and having the gazelles run outside and get killed by the road, which what happened for 10 years since the road was established and the Gazelle Valley was just an open area. And we were thinking, what do we do? It's no longer a Gazelle Valley. It's one
Just a
gazelle.
valley.
It's a valley with one gazelle. And of course, with one gazelle, you could not recreate a herd. So in the first year, we got imprinted gazelles that were taken illegally outside of nature and were put in, again, illegally in houses and in places in zoos, because people just took a baby gazelle that they found somewhere at nature, or took them to in order to eat them. Yes, there are situations like that, and the
Authority of Parks and Nature Preservation.
yeah, the Authority of Parks and Nature Preservation collects those gazelles and looks for a good place for them to grow, and they brought us the first 11 gazelles. I'm happy to say that after 1 year that we didn't see any pregnancies, we started to see pregnancies, and by the second year we already had 22 gazelles, and the next year 30 something gazelles, and now we have in the fifth year more than 54 gazelles here living in the Gazelle Valley Park.
And we're going to need to wait a few weeks in order to see all of the babies,
Right.
because it's very difficult to count at the given moment. So we'll have a better answer for that question in hopefully by the time COVID-19 is over.
Right. And the reason that we don't have a problem with the diversity is because we got 11 different gazelles from 11 different places in Israel. So we're okay now. And of course, we're monitoring together with the national authorities for protection for nature, parks and recreation. We have a veterinarian working with us, monitoring the herd, and we keep managing it and taking care of it to see that we're okay with the 54 gazelles, and that we can maybe have a little bit more before we start releasing to nature.
So to put it in a nutshell, we've recreated a very natural environment, not anything like a zoo where everything is very comfortable for human beings, on the one hand, and on the other hand, very accessible, which is unlike just being out of the city, kilometers away from human beings outside. This demands very careful management, very careful attention to the people as well. We couldn't do this inside the city without the community behind us.
And the municipality that helps us in any way possible for them, even by accepting the fact that a park inside a city could look like this. And now it's spring and it's green and it's amazing. But people that have been in Israel in the summer know that the summer is very yellow. And to have the mayor understand that yellow is beautiful and not neglected inside a city, it's a very, it's a change in his concept of what people like. And people come here a lot and they vote with their feet. They come here. We have more than 170,000 people visiting the Gazelle Valley every year, which is a lot. It's one of the most visited parks in Jerusalem. And I think the Jerusalem municipality understands that. And I think other municipalities all around Israel start to understand this concept. It's cheaper to handle. It has an amazing effect on community, connecting them with nature. And it does an amazing thing to nature, sustainability, climate change. So it's a win-win-win. Let's go into the hide.
It's a win-win-win, and people are asking again and again and again, and I assume Alan is answering in the chat, which I can't see. I can't follow everything. But people are asking again and again, and the entrance is free. A Corona aside, a second, on normal days, entrance is free. You don't need to coordinate. You don't need to pay. You don't need to do anything. Just show up at the gate during light hours.
Yes.
That's all you need to do.
The only thing that we keep closed is when sunset, that it becomes a place for nature. The gazelles know that when sun goes down, we disappear and it's all theirs.
Let's see what's hiding in here.
So as you see, this is the sign, the first sign we put when the corona started, that the Ministry of Health said, okay, the park could still be open, but this should be closed because it's a closed area. Now, I'm sad to say that they closed all the parks and gardens in Jerusalem, so we can't have people enjoying this wonderful spring, but I hope that very soon it will be open and people can come and enjoy. Let's go inside.
Or maybe you move that way.
If we stay for a minute silent, we can hear all the amazing voices.
There are lots of questions coming up about how we intervene, when we intervene. I've got to say, sometimes it's a dilemma. When gazelles are sick, or when we think there's a problem with the vegetation, which we also follow, then yeah, we get involved. Yael said before there's a vet.
I want to say something that it's a new concept, and we're learning every minute, every day, from year to year. It's an experiment that we're trying. We're hoping we're succeeding. I think we are, because we see the amount of animals rising every year. We see the gazelles. We see the birds coming here. We see birds that we haven't seen in Israel for 15 and 16 years suddenly appearing here in Gazelle Valley. So we see that the ecological system is working, but it's a process that we're learning every day. And we hope that we'll have this knowledge and we will be able to create other places like this in Israel and in all around the world, because I think it's really a winning concept. I want to talk here, take this place to talk about the water system. We're standing here in pool number 2. We still didn't find the right name for the pool, but what happens here is the concept of a desert area, a geographical desert area, is that we have water for only 4 months a year. And this year we had a very, very nice winter, an amazing winter. But what usually happens is the water runs through this valley very abruptly, very roughly, creates a lot of damages, but then goes all the way very fast to the sea. What we did here is a very, very simple concept. We decided to stop the water maintain it inside the park in 4 pools. So this is pool number 2. You see the dam here on this side.
Very
This-
difficult to see.
This
the
side is
camera.
actually sitting on the dam. This wall is the dam stopping the water. It goes all the way here.
I'll try to get this on
And
camera.
it stops the water from overflowing downstream. And we have 4 dams like that all around the park, which ends in a very big pond. We call it the Big Lake, although
In Israeli terms, it's a big
Israeli
lake.
terms, it's a big lake, but in European,
Those are view from London and New York, and
Yeah.
I didn't see where else people come from. It's a very small puddle,
yeah.
but we call it a big lake.
But it has amazing vegetation. It has amazing wildlife. We bring back here plants that you almost don't see anymore in Israel. And we see the birds coming and enjoying it. And here is one, a sufit. You can capture it.
We could probably translate a sufit. And as I said before, we're working with what we have, which is basically what the whole world is doing now with Corona. But we're not working with Zoom at home. As you see, we're working with a pair of binoculars. We're going to try to get the sufit into the binoculars. Sorry. Where is she at? I can see
think she
both
just,
camera and
Just went into the bush. Maybe we can go to the bigger lake and see more of the water system. Look, look.
but opa.
Ellen, please translate.
This is a endangered species that returned. You said just for a second.
I'll talk
We
you do the.
got just for a second. We got here he is. Endangered species.
Okay, so this is the Tzolel Bitzot. He appeared for the first time in Israel last year. After 15 years, we didn't see him in Israel at all. It had 26 chicks. 9 survived, and we were hoping. Oh! I see the kingfisher. Look at the kingfisher. Oh, an amazing view of the kingfisher. And we were hoping that the Tzolel Bitzot would come back this year and nest here again, and I'm happy to say that they came back. So here we see them again. Maybe
we will try again to.
Okay, no,
camera.
let's go. We don't have a lot of time, so let's go to the big, large lake or big pond or whatever we can call it.
Hi everyone, it's Lawrence in the control room. I just want to say the duck is called a ferruginous duck, and they just saw a kingfisher, which they didn't so the people listening afterwards can hear what the species. I'm going to leave you to it now. Bye.
Thank you,
Jay.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Lawrence,
Jay,
sorry.
whoever that was. Okay, so we're walking to the southern side where the big pond is. The water stays in the park until mid-June, which is very much inside summer. People who know Israel know that around April, rain stops and we don't have any more rain. And because the mayor of Jerusalem loved the fact that there is water in Jerusalem in summer, in the beginning of June, we start bringing water from the sewage system treatment company, and we have more water coming. Oh, we have a lot of chicks in the lake. Please, Ika, try and show it to
Wow.
people. We have a lot of little chicks enjoying the afternoon or the evening in the lake. Can you see it?
Yeah, we are trying to.
Maybe try without the binoculars. I think
Now, without the binoculars, it's pretty hopeless because the human eye can catch detail that the camera cannot. So here are a few chicks.
go to the left side. Up in the left.
There we are.
Okay. Oh, you see a mother with 3 chicks. Ellen, please help us with how it's
Very
called
good.
in English. But what you can see in this lake, this beautiful lake, is the different habitats that we created for the different birds coming here. It looks very natural, but it's all things that we replanted in order to get this amazing places for the different birds to have their houses, the place that they want to raise their chicks, their hides for helping them survive, and it became one of the best places for birds to
For
stop
bird
here.
watchers, you
And
get
for
lots of bird watchers.
of course.
That brings us back to the subject of community because you get bird watchers that are interested in silence and finding their birds.
Right.
We've got a community of photographers who
Yeah.
think the public is a nuisance, and we've got the public who think the photographers are a nuisance, and they're all right. They're all right, and
And of course, we have more than 16 groups of different disabled people coming to volunteer here in the weekdays. Now in the Corona, we have more than 50 volunteers, understanding that we are in a tough, I see a gazelle running there, coming towards us. Because you want to try and, oh, he just went into the bush.
change direction.
But we have more than 50 volunteers coming here, helping us to monitor the gazelle right now. I got so many phone calls when this Corona started, and we understood that we had to close the park and we had to let go some of the people working here. And it's amazing the community that we have here around us, helping us to run this place. So I think we have 10 more minutes for questions, and maybe we can sit. Are there any questions, Ellen?
There were lots of questions.
Okay, if you want to.
I'll start opening them. Let's sit down. As you see, the place is
Ellen,
designed at the same time.
Yes, Ellen.
So there's a lot of questions about the water system. How does it work? Is it recycled? Where does the water come from? Etc.
Okay, so the water system is runoff water. The water that is 25% of the water that comes with the rain to Jerusalem. With the climate change and urbanization, all of this water comes very, very fast on the hard surfaces that the city created and runs down through the valleys. And 25% of the water of Jerusalem comes here to the Gazelle Valley through 2 streams, the Rakafot stream and the Chagi stream that runs over there. And what we try to do is maintain the water as much as possible here inside the Gazelle Valley. We do it in several ways. The main way is by those pools I showed, and we create inside the Gazelle Valley on the Rakafot stream. The other ways to deal with the runoff water is the terraces we have in the orchards, and the winter pools that we have all around this area, helping us to absorb the water and have them come down to the aquifer, which is the underground water
Water reservoir
reservoir,
anywhere in the world.
the natural water reservoir of the world. And after the water comes inside and stops in the pools, we start circulating it. We have pumps at the end of the pool, and it takes them back up to the northern side of the northern entrance of the Gazelle Valley, which is the place where the stream begins, comes outside of the water system of the city, and then it goes back through this system all through the winter and into the midsummer. What we saw that after 3-4 times the water runs through the system, they get very, very clean, because runoff water comes with a lot of oils, a lot of chemicals, a lot of garbage, and this ecological water system that we created, we found out it cleans the water in an amazing way. It's like we call it a city kidney, because it cleans the water. It brings very, very filthy water, and after it goes through the system 3 or 4 times, it becomes very, very clean. So this is like in a nutshell about the water system.
We're asked here about, do we make some analytical control? Juan, I guess I should read the name, Gracia. You make some analytical control to runoff water, what it consists of. So I think the best
guys, your screen's frozen. Your screen's frozen. Can you go back?
Frozen.
Can you go back some with better reception, guys?
Go to the entrance.
We'll go somewhere with better reception. Somebody asked about. I'll just take this on.
Oh, it started working again. Stay there. Stay there. You can stay there.
Okay.
Someone asked about, do we analyze the water?
So we began like
Can
a
I-
month before.
Can I start with something else?
Oh, sure.
I think the best answer to that is the sound that you'll have if we shut up for a minute. If you hear frogs, then you know the water is good enough. Now you can go to chemical scientific analysis, but where you hear a frog, you can probably drink the water. Probably.
Yeah. So we see the ecological system. We see it's thriving, and we see it's amazing. So we have one thing that we know works, and we see it every day. But we did begin a research together with Tel Aviv University, looking at other aspects, chemical and biological aspects of the water. Ika just saw swifts.
Swifts.
A lot of
There's the
swifts.
first 5 or 7 of them, and there will be more within a few minutes. There'll probably be a few dozen of them. Swifts.
Yeah.
The birds that those of you who have visited Jerusalem and have been to the Kotel, to the Western Wall, know that for most of the summer, if you're there in the morning, you have birds flying above your head in circles. Those are swifts. They're amazing birds. They jump out of the nest when they're mature, and they fly for 2 years non-stop. They eat, drink, and even mate in flight and sleep in flight. And the way that they drink is they need big bodies of water like this in order to come down quickly, open their mouths and drink up as they go. So this has become an attraction for them too. There will be many more of them within a few minutes, most likely.
Okay, so I think I answered the part of the analysis. So we're supposed to start a very long research about the water system. It didn't start because of the corona. I hope we will soon start and do a full year, 4 seasons analysis of different aspects of the quality of the water.
Let's take more questions. Yeah, let's just make a more organized explanation about the number of gazelles.
Okay.
You explain about the gazelles. 15,000, 4,000, 3, 1. Those were the numbers that we tossed out. And 30.
Right.
You threw out a few numbers, and some people are asking about that. You explain. I'll try and get Nietzsche into the
Okay,
binoculars.
but he just went behind the bushes. So
Okay. Hopefully. Numbers.
So, yeah, as I said, Israel had about 15,000 gazelles in the natural habitats of Israel. Because of poaching, development, new neighborhood, new villages, roads. A lot of the ecological corridors that gazelles need to have in order to maintain a healthy herd were demolished or cut or um, shrunk. And I'm sad to say that now we have about 4,000, maybe people will give the accurate number. We have about 4,000 gazelles living in Israel, which is the last place where we have this kind of gazelles, the Israeli mountain gazelle. Israel is the last place that it exists. So I think we have a great responsibility for keeping this beautiful mammal alive.
Those are general Israeli numbers. Those are numbers in Israel.
Those are the numbers in Israel.
Now let's talk about the valley.
Now, in the Gazelle Valley, the same situation of ecological corridor being blocked happened here because we had an amazing natural corridor coming from the Rakafot stream all the way down to Refaim, which the road blocked and left here 33 gazelles detached from their the rest of the herds of the gazelle, from the rest of the natural habitat. When the road was built, the 33 gazelles started to get killed and run off by the road, by the vehicles in the road. Whenever there was a jackal coming from the other side into the valley, imagine the gazelle starting to run towards the road, and of course the end is having the herd slowly shrinking, and in the end
Almost vanishing.
almost vanishing. So by the time we opened the Gazelle Valley and had it fenced, as I said, there was one gazelle left, one female gazelle left. We slowly brought gazelles here, gazelles that were captured, were taken from nature by the authority of parks and recreations in Israel. And the first, we had, in the beginning, we had 11 gazelles brought here. And from this, this was the core that created the herd of the gazelles. That's the...
So the numbers in the Gazelle Valley are approximately 35, ups and downs in the course of inside the year. In the past is in the past. As soon as the valley got cut off from nature outside of Jerusalem, numbers started to shrink. 2012, let's say, only a few females. 2015, one female. And then we brought 11 from outside, and we currently stand on 50 something. We'll need to wait a few weeks, as we said before, to know the exact number.
Exactly.
That is inside the valley, and nationwide, we're talking about a drop from 15,000 to 3,000 or 4,000. And hopefully, when we can start to release gazelles from here, then where will we release them to?
So we're working with the national parks and recreation authorities, and they're in charge of the wild animals in Israel. So of course we're gonna do it together with them. It's a project we've decided already to start. They're talking about the Golan Heights. They're talking about Ramat Nadiv.
Near Haifa?
Near Haifa. Of course, we want to release them in places that we know that they will have enough space to survive, that they won't have too many
roads in which to get run over and
roads
stuff like that.
or obstacles or things that will not allow them to survive. We can only release gazelles that are not imprinted.
Imprinted means?
Imprinted, that they don't identify people as their parents. That they
Let's say it the other way around. Imprinted, we can only release a gazelle that sees a human being
and runs
as
away.
Exactly, and runs away.
So Yossi and Nietzsche that are problematic, and we will not release them. We will release in the beginning mainly females, and females that will run away and that they will teach their
Offsprings
to
run away as
to run
well.
away again. Exactly.
I think, but truly, if I go back to the beginning, I think this place is very, very unique. Almost in any angle that I look at it, if you look at the combination of community, if you look at the involvement and the level of knowledge that we have about every detail here. I mean, people have been asking about the vegetation, about the birds, about. We could theoretically stand here till tomorrow morning and answer all of those questions. So it's really a very unique site in many, many, many different ways. The involvement of human beings on the one hand, on the level of how much we know, because we really could stay here very long in order to give all the answers. On the other hand, our disinvolvement, because we don't touch everything. We don't go in and get involved every time two gazelles fight. We want them to fight. We want the dominant male to be a dominant male.
We do not feed them. They get their food from the vegetation that is here. We try not to touch them, not to get close to them, to really let them be in nature. And this balance between running the place inside the city with the community, connecting them to this area and this nature, and having a place that could release gazelles back to nature. This is the balance that we're constantly working on.
Yeah. Everybody's asking about, do we tag the gazelles before we release them? Well, first of all, we will tag any gazelle that we release.
And we tag them. We try to tag every newborn. This specific time of the corona is a little bit more problematic to do that, but we hope we'll catch up by the minute we'll get back to business as usual.
So, co-panelists of ours, or anyone else, are there any other questions that you think we should be answering immediately?
I think we're good. Really, really appreciate it. Yael and Ika.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. We had a great time, and it's very exciting for us to be here with all of the people from all around the world. It's an amazing opportunity.